You're going to try and get home today? Yeah, I'm going to try and get home today. Go to work tomorrow. So you can come back after tomorrow?
Pretty much. Although if I needed to, I could work from home, but we'll see what happens.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to first season session for Who Knew? An exploration of Jewish experience.
July.
All right. Anybody who might be watching on internet land only, here's what's picked up in a microphone.
Excuse me.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And I'm very close to my rabbi, as you can see. Welcome to Who Knew? An exploration of the Jewish experience. This is our first of 10 sessions that we'll be holding between now and April. And we're going to begin with, I met you at Sinai, and Rabbi Ben will be able to explain that further. We do want to thank Jewish Nevada for sponsoring this event. It's their support that is helping to make this possible. We want to thank the board of directors at our synagogue here at Temple Sinai, to Michael Gordon, our vice president, for streaming and doing our setup, to Tova McGilvray for all of her support as our president. And if you're viewing online, welcome, and welcome to everyone in the audience. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Rabbi Benjamin Zober.
Yeah, we're still working on a theme song. But thank you, Jill, and thank you for all that you do. So this is our first go at this. I met you at Sinai. What we are hoping to do is to get to know some of the folks who make up this community, because a lot of people come from all sorts of different areas and have some really interesting stories to tell. And I'm privileged as the rabbi to get to know some of these little bits and pieces in different ways, and not only for my own sake to learn some of these things, but to be able to share with all of you, because it's really wonderful how much crazy and wild stuff there is out in our little community. So this is an opportunity to get to know people, and we're hoping this is something that is interesting to other people and that will grow, and that over time we can include more and more people and hear all of the different stories that make the Northern Nevada Jewish community what it is, and that we also then have for posterity this, because one of the things that we do as Jews is we tell stories and we record those, and those are the things that really enrich what it is to be part of the community, all of the people who have come before us and the people who are around us. So that's our little humble attempt to be a part of that. So this is our first foray, and I want to welcome Mike Medvin, a long
Thank you,
member.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
So, and we'll get into all sorts of things, but just briefly, that you wear a number of hats in this community and have a lot of different areas in which you have participated in life here. And I thought of you as we were thinking about this, kind of as an ideal first guest. And I know you're a little shy.
Oh yes,
but we will find a way to make it work. So the first question that I will ask of you, as I will ask of everyone, is I met you at Sinai. What brought you here for the first time?
long involved story. My wife and I were retiring, and we were looking for a location to move to. We looked at many different communities across the United States. We looked at Santa Fe, New Mexico, as one of my favorites. Looked at numerous other places, but then reality struck, and one of the highways that connects almost all my kids is Interstate 80. I have two sons in Lincoln, Nebraska, which is right on 80. I have a daughter that lives in the Bay Area, so it's Interstate 80, and a son that lives in Susanville, California. which is 395, which is right off 80. So Reno, from that standpoint of view, looked pretty good because Reno had good transportation with the airport. And also, one of the things you look at least we did, as you age, is medical care. And sometimes we don't think we have great medical care, but a lot better than a lot of other communities across the United States. So that was two of the main reasons that we ended up right here. And we came to synagogue here when Rabbi Myra was here, and before the building was, the sanctuary was remodeled. We'd come up and look for real estate. Excuse me. So on Friday nights, we would come up and come to services. So that's why we ended up here, as opposed to another synagogue. Of course, I have been a Reformed Jew since the day I was born. That's where I've always gone, to a Reformed synagogue.
I'm familiar with a little bit of that. well, and you and I, we have similar roots, right? That I
Right.
grew up in Cleveland, and you originally from Akron.
Correct.
So I guess then the question is well, I know how I ended up here. How just I wonder if you could sort of talk a little bit about some of the journey that got you
Well,
kind of moving. Because I know you've lived a few places other than
Right.
just here and there.
The journey started in 1940 in October. So if you want to, really go back to the beginning. So on the 20th, I showed up, and that's when my journey started. Did everything. We had a wonderful Jewish center in Akron. We had numerous shuls, had delis, kosher markets, which none of exist anymore, the kosher markets. And right now there's only 3 synagogues left. A lot of them combined. There were small, you had a Hungarian shul, et cetera, which were small, and in order to survive, they had to merge together like so many other communities across the United States. Went to high school. My family was in the scrap business, and that's primarily where I worked. Other than a few other forays, let's see, Century Foods grocery store was my first job. Carrying out groceries when they used to have people that carried out groceries. So numerous different things, working in a gas station, which I enjoyed also. And then came my drag racing days.
Oh, do tell.
Yes, of course. I've had a 56 Chevrolet, 210 two-door hardtop with a limited factory edition with a Corvette engine.
Oh.
So originally started drag racing at first drag strip east of the Mississippi, which was at the Akron airport. And later it closed because it actually got too short for the slow down because the cars were going much faster. And moved up to a little bit north of Akron, about 20 miles away to Dragway 42. And fortunately, I trophied a few times.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And about 1958, went to the Nationals in Detroit, Michigan.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So had a lot of fun. Anyhow, much after high school, I was working all day in the family business. And I started, looking at different papers, so on and so forth. And I was concerned about the looming war in Vietnam. And so I sat down and talked with my dad. And this is before the United States formally was in Vietnam. And I enlisted through the reserves. In the meantime, before that, I went to Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. Went there for a couple of years and then transferred to University of Akron. Later on, etc., had a friend that I had gone to Sunday school with. Name was Penny Farber. And she also went to Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. And her roommate, she introduced me to her roommate, which eventually became my wife. So when I was in the military, every day I got a letter or a card. So when I got out, about a year later, we got married.
Oh, that's lovely.
It's 1964. Seems like a whole different world away. So my dad wanted to retire. Things were changing in the business. Didn't see much of a future staying in Akron, so we ended up moving to Southern California, where my wife's sister-in-law and her brother-in-law lived. And started our adventure in California with 4 kids. We enjoyed it. So, jumping ahead many years, you look around and all of a sudden you're an empty nester.
I'm still working on that.
So anyhow,
A few years.
It's all kinds of fun getting to there. It has going to 4 soccer games in one afternoon. Yes. Tried to figure out, how to do all that. It was a lot of fun. In the meantime, I spent 25 years with Boy Scouts at the same time. Enjoyed that also. Not only working with my son, but working with the other boys that were in there. And very, very joyful experience. Did a lot of hiking.
Yeah.
Did most of the Pacific Crest Trail.
Oh, wow.
So I wasn't always quite this big. It comes with practice,
Now, had you been a Boy Scout when you were a kid?
No.
Oh, okay. So so you got a little bit of that side of it as well.
Yeah, it was extremely enjoyable. In fact, kids tend to teach you a lot.
Yeah.
And kids taught me, a lot. There's a lot of boys I'm still in touch with over Facebook. Yeah, they pop up.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And, leave me a message every now and then. Yeah. So it's one of the things that I really enjoyed. My youngest son, is a firefighter due to the influence of the scoutmaster at that time, which the scout troop was at Holy Name of Mary Catholic Church.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, well, it's not my family's first foray with the Catholic Church. So anyhow, Jerry Fagan was the scoutmaster. he was also battalion chief of for Los Angeles County, who had the contract with the city of San Dimas, since they didn't have a fire department. And he had a lot of good influence on my youngest son. And so he went on to become a firefighter. Today's captain.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah. Yes.
So that does bring me to ask a little bit about the both firefighters and fire trucks. I have
Yes.
known that you may have a few fire trucks, and I was going to first ask, what kind of brought you into that thing, but I would love to hear about that and yes, the acquisition and maintenance of fire trucks. My HOA does not allow me to keep a car even outside, let alone a fire truck on the property. So I'm endlessly envious.
Well, first of all, I had two fire trucks. I just recently sold one.
Sure.
And the nice part about fire trucks, when you're buying an older used one, is they're very inexpensive.
I thought you were going to say the siren, but okay, inexpensive.
No. Well, sirens are fun too. Anyhow, I have a long history with fire.
Mhm.
Friend of mine growing up, his name was Bill Gravis, and he was much older than I was. He lived in Bath Township, Ohio, which was right next to Akron. And he was that time fire chief, eventually became police chief. And he's the one that, if anybody remembers the Jeffrey Dahmer case, he's the one that when Jeffrey Dahmer was arrested, he went and brought him back to Ohio for trial.
Okay. I think that's probably a first for this space where we've brought Jeffrey Dahmer into conversation.
Yes.
So we're
So
to a swing and start here.
So when Bill was fire chief, and Bill also had this nice rifle and pistol range on his property, which I helped him build. So we used to go out shooting, but when there was a fire, I'd end up going along. So it's just something that I have enjoyed. Been in a few fires in my life. Been taking horses out of barns because it was primarily a rural area. At that time, it isn't anymore. And then later, the last thing that I did before I retired was I was part owner of a company called Champion Rescue Tools. And we made a competitive product to Jaws of Life. So I ended up traveling around the world teaching firefighters how to rescue people.
Really?
Yeah. So I've had a very exciting life.
That's
Not very many people. I did that for about the last 20 years of my life.
Oh, only 20 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So where you said all over the world? Any interesting or unexpected spots? I mean, I assume I'm not an expert. I assume there are fires everywhere.
It's traffic accidents everywhere also.
That's true. Yes.
And or elephants running into elephants need to be separated.
Okay, I don't think that happens everywhere, but
But the opportunity, I was in South Africa, in some of the little kingdoms around South Africa also. I've been in numerous parts of Europe, and once to Japan.
oh, okay.
And I refused to go to China. So, had a very, very interesting career for the last 20 years.
Yeah, that's certainly unique.
Yeah, well, you get the opportunity also when you're working with a fire department, teaching them how to use new tools, and something happens and they get called and they say, come on, you're going and show. So that happens sometimes. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, fun and important, right? That this
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
to save
So-
lives is amongst our highest duties.
Right. So in essence, for me to own a fire truck is really not that far.
I-
I did. And I ended up owning 2 fire trucks. But there's one thing you have to remember with fire trucks, that no matter how many you own, you can only drive one at a time.
Oh, that is, you know. So for someone who's never owned a fire truck, are we talking just the truck? Do you get the hoses? I don't know. When you go to a dealership, they include the AC, they include the undercoating, whatever.
Well,
but
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
with
yes
fire
and-
truck what you
Yes
get.
and no. It depends where you buy it and how you buy it.
Okay.
Okay. A lot of times, if you buy it directly from the fire department, they strip everything off of it they can use in the next
Mhm.
truck. And it also depends on what type of grant they got, if they got a grant to buy that fire truck or not.
Mm.
Or if you buy it from a private owner, you're sometimes better off getting it from a private owner because it comes with more equipment on it.
So now, about how old are the trucks you've had?
The first one that I bought, that I just sold about 3 weeks ago, was a 1976
Okay.
Ford C-Cab with an American LaFrance fire body built out on the back of it, because it's a very common truck.
Okay.
I think Ford built that cab for about 15 years or 18
Okay.
years. So there was a lot of it. It was a very easy truck to drive. It came from Loyalton, California.
Ah, all right.
Okay, which is, if anybody knows Loyalton, actually it's just where the Bear Fire is going right now.
Yeah. I'm hoping they're not missing their truck.
No. So for a few years before I bought a fire truck, I belonged to an organization called Firematic Collectors of Northern Nevada. And those are people, there's about 40 of us that collect fire items, fire hydrants. Some people collect badges from all over the world, some patches, other fire items. And there's about 35 of us that buy fire trucks.
Well, that was not the ratio I was expecting. When you first saw it, I thought, well, how many people are in that? And you said 40. And I thought, oh, and the patches and badges, those seem like reasonable things to have in your basement. But that 35 of the 40 are collecting trucks.
Oh, but most of them have more than one.
Why not? Aside from what you just said, that you can only drive one at a time. Have they found a way to live with the disappointment of only being able to drive one?
But if you take a look at a fire truck and you take a look at let's say an antique car, and I think pretty much most of us are familiar with antique cars, but when you see a price on them, they're extremely expensive. $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000, depending, on what it is. Maybe $1 million. Some of them have sold for. But not everybody has room for a fire truck. So for around $2,000, you can find a lot of fire trucks.
Wow. Okay. I have to say that is shockingly lower than I would have expected.
My little fire truck, which is parked behind the house right now, is a Ford F-350, which is a 1-ton pickup truck, used for, it has a water tank on it and pumps water, and used for rescue also. I only paid $1,000 for it. It also came from the city of Loyalton.
Well, I know who I'm going to have negotiate the next time I need a car.
But it's an 86, and it had about 70,000 miles on it.
Wow.
So the only thing I had to do is buy new tires for it.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
So how do the neighbors feel about a backyard full of fire trucks?
Well, my next door neighbor restores cars,
Ah, okay.
okay? And the next door to him restores Volkswagens. So
That seems ideal.
Well, you've been to my house, you know where my house is. I live in an area inside the city of Reno, which is 1 block long. It goes to a dead end, but it's a county street. So we have this little island of counties, so the rules are different. So it makes it much easier.
That's, yeah, well, that.
And up to about 8 weeks ago, I had about 8 fire trucks in my backyard.
Eight, okay. I was worried you had a lot.
But they weren't mine.
Oh, well.
Just the two,
No, that would,
at that point, just the two.
that would be absurd.
So anyhow, they're fun to drive in parades. You know, if you need to drive across town, let's say smog, depending on, on the year, or you need to get some repair work done. They're fun to drive around, just across town. Insurance is very inexpensive because you're driving them maybe 2,000 miles a year or less. So it's based on your insurance is based on your mileage. My one that I have less cost me $100 a year for insurance on it.
Well, I'm definitely sold. I'm definitely like, I'm going to go right from here and start looking at them. Which that's not true. That's true. I'm going to go right from here and tell Rabbi Sarah, and she's going to start looking. For
You're
them.
right.
But
Another place you can buy fire trucks, which is sometimes a very good place to buy fire trucks, is from the U.S. government.
Sure.
Because the amount of fire trucks that they buy every year for their use for the BLM, Parks Department, federal park, the Forest Service, and they have a program where they put the fire trucks at no charge out to small rural fire departments or fire departments that are struggling for more modern equipment. And when they get done with them, they put them up on for auction. You can bid online.
I should say, full disclosure that the U.S. government is one of our sponsors, and we are. I'm kind of surprised that there aren't more people buying fire trucks and driving them around. I mean, when your Humvee or your 7-ton pickup truck has lost its allure, why not make the jump up to a lot of people will buy them and take the fire body off the back. Okay.
And they'll use the truck for other purposes.
Interesting. All right.
Because they're usually fairly well taken care of.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. Now you've given me a lot to think about. I just maybe right. Yeah, we can. That was what I was thinking.
I have to do is go to gsa.gov.
All right, are we throwing that link in the
right, and type in fire trucks.
All right, wow.
But be sure if you bid one in the local area, because I would hate to think that you would get one in South Florida and have to go pick it up. They don't deliver.
I mean, there probably is a certain amount of charm to road tripping across the country in your newly acquired fire truck, but that is important stuff. And I want to say, just while we're on this, that right now there's some fires right in our area, and a number of people in our community who are affected by them, and certainly we are thinking of them and hope that they are somewhere safe and that they have the resources and that the synagogue is available. So if you are either affected by it or are in contact with some people in our community who are, and you could use some assistance, even if it's just could use a meal, something like that, please let us know, because why we are in community is to help one another, certainly at a time like this. So,
You know, for many years, synagogue over Christmas holidays would house people.
Mhm.
And I forgot the name of the organization that we used to work with. And it'd probably be about 5 or 6 families, and they would stay in the classrooms.
oh, okay.
They would bring in the beds. The reason we did it over the Christmas season is because the churches were busy, and they housed them every week or every 2 weeks. They would go to a different church, and what they would do is the people. These were not homeless people. These were people that were living in motels, and they couldn't get quite enough money together to put down a down payment on a rental, first month, plus a security deposit, et cetera, et cetera. And they would take, once they came into the program, they would take their money, they would assign their money to them, and they would save it, and if they had a past like phone bill, because you couldn't get a phone till that was paid, it may have been a couple $100, they'd help them and assist that to get paid off.
I love that.
So part of that program is we used to house them here every year.
That's great. I certainly think that's something we should look into bringing back, because unfortunately it's still a need.
Absolutely.
So I want to switch gears a little bit, if it's not too awkward, a complete transition. But another thing that for folks who know you know that a big part of what you do in this community is you have long relationship with the cemetery, which, as you said, is typically the first thing that a Jewish community acquires is a cemetery. And so in many places throughout the country, we have historic cemeteries that are not just necessary parts of Jewish life, but are part of our history and a bit of kind of the character, and in some ways some of the heart of what makes a place or a Jewish community what it is. And so I wonder if you could talk a little bit about both how you came into that kind of business, and share some of the bit behind the Hebrew Cemetery here in Reno.
The first thing, good little history first, is Hebrew Cemetery in Reno was established in 1878. And by Jewish law, there is nothing that makes a community permanent. A synagogue does not make a permanent place. It can be changed, the community can move away, but the only thing that makes a community permanent is the cemetery. And our cemetery was established in 1878. So it's been part of Reno 10 years short of when Reno was established as a town. Okay, now how did I get involved with the cemetery?
Yeah, I know how most people get into cemeteries, but I was.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounded different in my head.
Well, either way. I didn't realize Reno had a cemetery, and it just wasn't on my mind. And anytime that my wife and I had talked about passing everything, most of our plans and thoughts were always made with me going first. We moved to Reno. We lived here a year, and my wife passed away. So I didn't even know that there was a cemetery here. And that's the day I met Steve Matlis. And Steve was the head of the cemetery. And I met him at the cemetery. We walked through and selected a couple sites for it. And what I selected at that time was, instead of two graves next to each other, I had two graves like this. Numerous reasons. First of all, the cemetery at that time was short on space. And ecologically, it made more sense to me to do this than to this. I can't say I enjoyed my meeting with Steve, which he was an exceedingly nice gentleman.
He's a mensch.
We talked a lot about the cemetery. I started to get a little fascinated with the cemetery, since in my past I've done some cemetery work before. And next thing you know, fortunately or unfortunately, 19 years ago, I became involved with cemetery, and have been there ever since.
Well, certainly I know every time I've done a funeral, you've been there, and I appreciate not just what you do to make those go smoothly for the families, but just your friendly face and your warm greeting.
It takes a whole crew of people, and we have a good core of volunteers here in Reno. That Steve, we have quite a few members of our synagogue are active at the cemetery. It's its own entity. We encourage synagogue membership.
Yeah.
And currently, new members coming to Sinai because of the relationship, and Sinai does pay the cemetery the cost of one grave every year. So consequently, members who belong to Sinai get a site at half price, as what the general public would pay if they had no synagogue membership. And the same thing goes for Emmanuel, but it does not go for Chabad or any other synagogue.
Interesting.
Because they came after, they were not founding synagogue.
Well, so all of the people who you mentioned do that, and as well people in the Chevra Kadisha, the kind of the burial society. It's all volunteers, right? So
Right.
This is a mitzvah that we do for one another in the community.
For those of you that may not know what a Hevel Kadisha is, it literally translates to Holy Society. We prepare the person for burial. And the Hevel Kadisha in this town, which I find is very interesting. There's a lot of things that synagogues and Jews don't cooperate on, but
Go on.
It's interesting that the Hevel Kadisha is made up of a few community members from the two synagogues here in town, and from Chabad. So it's very interesting that on that, it comes together to make sure that proper burial rites are carried out.
Well, not to make light or anything like that, but I wanted to. I know that you've shared with me at various times some of the interesting stories that from the cemetery, and I don't know if you have any particular favorites or things, because I think some of them do speak to some of the kind of uniqueness of the Reno Jewish community.
Well, we tend to think of cemeteries as extremely solemn places, but there are, not to make light of it, there are a lot of very funny things that happen at the cemetery. Came in one morning, and the excavation was done the night before, and walked over in the morning to check, and I usually get there about an hour and a half before the burial takes place. The grave was filled with water.
Oh.
They had nicked the sprinkler pipe
Oh no.
on the underground sprinkler system. And so as it ran before it shut off, it just filled it right up.
So what did they do?
You get a pump.
Okay, my thought was a bunch of paper towels, but that seems better. Yeah.
But every now and then somebody falls in.
I will say that in seminary, that was one of the things that they warned us about.
Yes, you don't want to get too close to the edge.
Both the family and yourself, just to maintain a healthy distance.
Yeah. So one of the other funny things that happened is I got a phone call one afternoon from a young lady. She was walking by the cemetery, and part of the cemetery at the north end of the cemetery, which those of you that haven't visited is on a very appropriate named street called Angel Street. But on the north side of the cemetery, it is much higher than the ground surrounding it. There's a driveway that goes down there. And this young lady was in an anthropology class at UNR. And as she's walking by, she calls me. She said, "There's a bone sticking out of the ground," which really creates a lot of problems. Number one, religious-wise, halakha-wise, and health-wise. So consequently, made arrangements to meet her the following day over there. And I went over and I couldn't see it. So she met me the following day over there. I brought a plastic bag, and she pointed out to where the bone was. I reached in, slipped it in the plastic bag, and gave it to her to take to her anthropology class. Turned out to be an antelope bone.
Do we typically bury antelopes?
No, but I can't say what came. It came before the 1878.
Yeah.
Where the deer and the antelope bone.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So we knew the following day. Her professor let us know.
Okay.
It was an antelope bone.
I hope she got a good grade in the class. Maybe she left out the part where she thought that it was a human bone. I don't know if that affects the.
But that's other funny stuff. It's sometimes it's just funny to the staff of the cemetery, and like any place else, sometimes you can't laugh.
Yeah, that is.
But we do good, and I'm extremely proud of our little community cemetery that we have over there.
Yeah, it's a remarkable and I should full disclosure, and you are expanding and
yes,
it's a project for that. For once it wasn't about you, Mike. But looking to the future in a number of ways to ensure that it's there.
We acquired and about 8 years ago, enough adjoining land to last us another 100 years.
Which is wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. Because otherwise, we had to go through a lot of arm twisting because land in Reno is no longer zoned for cemeteries. So we had to go to city council and get zoning changed. And that took a lot of effort, a lot of drawings, and a few dollars.
There's it makes me wonder. There's sort of a general sense that we're still very much the Wild West out here. Have rules and regulations become more of a more of a thing in the recent past? Were some of those things a little looser in years past? And now we've
In terms of state law, local law governing cemeteries, a good part of the laws that we're exempt from because we're a religious organization.
Okay.
So as
membership has its benefits. Is what you're
correct.
saying. Interesting.
And what's interesting though is you find non-synagogue members will contact you when a parent passed away or the spouse passed away, and they will say that in case the one phone call, well, we want to bury mom with her people. And the first thing that goes by my mind is, you're not her people?
Well, I don't know that they want to be buried yet. I mean,
right. So, it's extremely interesting being in a small community with so many Jewish people that do not identify membership-wise with the community. If you take a look at the 3 synagogues that we have today, here at Temple Emmanuel and Chabad, it makes up such a small percentage of the Jewish population in northern Nevada. I think the last check, the state demographer is roughly identified a little over 5,000 people in this area of northern Nevada that identify as Jewish. So you take a look at that and you look at synagogue membership, which currently we are the largest, and 180 somewhere.
165, 170 families maybe. Yeah.
Right.
Depending how you count it.
Okay. Manuel is much smaller, and Chabad doesn't quite count the same way, which they're somewhere between us and Emmanuel.
Mm-hmm.
So you take a look, that doesn't even total 500 out of 5,000.
So the Jews are out there.
They need to be in here, if not for the religious aspect, which I hope that they would take some part of the religious aspect, because otherwise it's part of our survival. If they just, take part and also in the social aspect. And I think there's a lot more that take involvement in the social aspect. And I tend to see more at programs that are non-synagogue programs, especially at programs at the Atlantis, et cetera. And I see a tremendous amount of people down there.
Yeah. Well, and I will be the first to say that it doesn't all have to be services and sermons and things like that. And I honestly appreciate so much all that you've shared, because I think you've embodied in a lot of ways so many of those pieces, right, of what it is to be in Jewish community. The social, there is a religious piece, there's life cycle pieces, but there's so much more to it, and that in so many ways we've sort of been locked into this idea that being a member of a Jewish community or being a member of a temple means that you come to services on these occasions and you do all of these things. And yes, we do those, and yes, those are lovely. And I think I'm not just saying that I think that they're full of meaning and can do a lot, both as the rabbi, but also someone who has benefited from some of those things. But there's also just that we're more than that, and that people need not think that we are taking attendance. Like I don't get I don't have a punch card, and for every 100 people in, I get a free sandwich or something like that. Like, if only. But it's more about that we are here. We are here to to offer programs and events and community and comfort and probably several dozen other things, and that's what it is. And yeah, I wish more people felt comfortable doing that, because unfortunately, kind of as you alluded to, sometimes we only see people at the kind of the crisis moments, either when they're, what do I do with mom or dad or a spouse, or I'm at a juncture in my life and I need some comfort, and we're not going to turn people away and say, well, you didn't have a bar mitzvah here, I'm not going to give you any advice. But getting to know someone and being a part of their life makes it that much easier to sit down with them and share and help.
To me, it's one of the most difficult parts, if you relate back to the cemetery, is when a family, some member passes away and they have no relationship with the synagogue. Then how does a rabbi do a eulogy? It's got to be exceedingly tough, and it's got to be tough on a family also.
Yeah, and I completely agree. When I'm called on, I don't want them to feel as though they just rented a rabbi to bury someone, but sometimes there's not much to go on. I did. One family came in and I spoke with one of the sons for about an hour, and he told me a handful of things, and I used literally every one of those things in my eulogy. And afterwards, he said, "Wow, you used everything I said." And I said, "Well, yes, I thank you for sharing so much. Otherwise, it would have been, yeah." But
Yeah, everybody has a job, whether we're retired or not, whether, it's doing stuff around the house or doing what, but all of us, get involved in our job. And ours is much easier than having to do that.
Well, easy or not, you do a tremendous amount, and I thank you for that. I think we're sort of coming to the end of our time here. I want to thank you for sitting down with me and sharing all of these things, and I know that you will continue in all of the tremendous things you do, and hopefully can also continue to share all of your stories, because I think I could have sat here for another hour and heard more of the things you said, because certainly the things that are I think fit for a general audience. You've shared a few things with me that are I appreciate, that are not for family programming, but all of them are just so appreciated, and I'm so glad to be a part of the same community as you, for everything that you have given to me, guidance, counsel, the occasional dirty joke. But those are just really tremendous things, and I thank you for that, and thank you all for tuning in. I don't know if Jill has anything to kind of close us out. We, as she said, this is ongoing. We have a number of things. We'll have this. We have some other programming coming on. Please take a look at the website and other information we send out about that to get all the details, because we'd love to have you as part of these things. So,
and I appreciate the fact that I was invited. Jill, thank you so much. Rabbi, thank you. Mike, thank you for being here today and making sure that gets out online. And to the rest of you, thank you. I greatly appreciate all of you.
There are light refreshments in the lobby, which we'd love to have you partake in. And we can all mix and mingle a little bit together. The next event will be, I Met You at Sinai, October 20th, here in the sanctuary. Rabbi Ben will be speaking with Robert Dickens, a longtime synagogue member with a rich history in northern Nevada. So we hope you can join us then. Throughout November, Rabbi Ben will be doing a Sunday program for 4 weeks about Jews in the Old West. And that's going to focus on TV shows and how Judaism fit into northern Nevada. So that should be super interesting. January, we'll be doing a program in conjunction with International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And Rabbi Ben will be speaking with our congregant, Michael Gordon, and his family about their intergenerational history with the Holocaust. February 16th, Rabbi Sarah we'll be doing a program on Jewish love songs in conjunction with the month of February and Valentine's Day. March, come for I Met You at Sinai with Barbara Weinberg. Also longtime member, past president, with again a rich history here of our synagogue and the city. And April will be doing our last I Met You at Sinai, our guest to be announced. And that'll be every Sunday here, again, 1 o'clock till about 3 with refreshments. And I encourage you to invite friends and family. Just one last announcement. We're going to be doing an interfaith potluck here in the Sukkah, and that'll be October 22nd. It's our second annual. Last year we had 60 attendees from throughout the interfaith community. So if you're interested in coming, please do RSVP, because there's just so many people we can fit in that space. And there are flyers out in the lobby. So thanks so much, Rabbi Ben. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jill.
And Mike, it's an honor, as always.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Okay, so please join us.
Jill?
Yeah, thank you.